completion. Who's the latest for it? Don't have anyone listed. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we thank you for the blessing of this day. We thank you now for the privilege and opportunity to come together to meet as the Solid Waste Committee, so that we might, our Father, carry out the work that you've assigned to our hands. We pray that you would bless us and guide us. For us in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public notices have gone out. Miss Esther, she's.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Verifying that public notices had gone out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move on to the next item. Technology is acting up.
You want to use that?
Approval of the minutes, we need the approval agenda.
So moved. Second.
Probably moved in second that the agenda be approved. Comes to question, prepared to vote. Say aye.
Aye.
You have it on readiness? Yes, sir.
On the agenda, one of the items is the nominating committee, and I have some questions and concerns about that. Would that be allowed when we get to that?
Yes, it will be.
Secondly, I have similar questions and concerns about our trip down to Charleston, and that's either listed below or elsewhere. Will we be able to have discussion relative to that?
You can bring that up in roundtable.
I'd like to bring it up on the agenda.
Well, the agenda, a roundtable is part of the agenda. Okay, it's also on the executive director's report, so you can make comments then.
So it will be, I will be allowed to speak.
Yes, you will be.
I will be allowed to speak at that time.
Yes.
And then I'd like to add to the agenda discussion of the bylaws, which we have forestalled for the last year. In fact, it was on the roundtable discussion last month, and you said you would speak to the attorney about it, and the implication is we'd talk about it tonight.
No, I did not say we would talk about it tonight. I said I would speak to the attorney about it. And we decided not to put it on here tonight.
Who is we?
Me, for one, as chairman.
So you decided we're not going to discuss bylaws tonight.
I have that right as chairman.
Well, do I have the right to ask that we put it on the agenda?
For tonight's meeting, you can request, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be approved.
I know that I'm going to be outvoted, but I'm asking, are you going to allow me to request that the bylaws be added to the agenda?
I mean, we're not prepared to discuss bylaws at this meeting.
Well, you may not be, but I am.
No, well, I mean, if that's a one-sided discussion.
No, it's not. We were prepared a year ago.
Approval of the agenda.
We were fully prepared. You were here.
Excuse me?
You were part of it. You were here. You were part of it.
Yes, but we did not complete it for a reason.
Well, would you state the reason that we waited a year to complete it?
Well, for one, we just hadn't put it back on the agenda yet. And also, as a board, we need to do a workshop before we try to deal with the bylaws again, because as a board, we're not operating appropriately as a board. So we need a board workshop before we deal with the agenda, before we deal with the bylaws.
Again, I ask, may we add it to the bylaws tonight?
No, sir, we will not add bylaws tonight.
Do you have a notion as to when we will have it?
We will make certain that we schedule the workshop and then the bylaws meeting after the workshop.
And we means you.
We meaning the entire board. We will make certain that we schedule that.
Well, I would like the record to show that I've asked as much as I know how to ask, that we put something on the agenda that we studied for over a year and months before that, and if we're not ready now, we never will be, but you have denied me that right, and so I move on. We can't even take a vote on it. I know I'm gonna be outvoted. I don't know why you, object.
If you want me to put it to a vote, we can do that.
Yes, please, thank you.
All right, we'll do that as soon as we get into the agenda. We'll take a vote on whether or not we deal with bylaws tonight.
Well, then I can't approve the agenda then.
You know, the agenda can be approved with the addition of a vote on whether or not we deal with bylaws tonight.
If you're gonna turn the thing over to Danny,
No,
I know
he's
that.
showing me where the minutes of our last meeting, it says, Chairman Coakley recommended that the board have a board workshop in the upcoming year. Mr. Gray asked if the bylaws would be taken up again this upcoming year. I commented that he would discuss it with Ms. Britton and report back at the June meeting. It did not say we would have the bylaws at the June meeting.
what does report back at the June meeting mean?
It means I'm reporting back from my discussion with Ms. Britton. That does not mean there will be a meeting on the bylaws. That is not what that means.
Are you telling me that you will have words to say about where you and Ms. Britton are on the bylaws tonight?
On where we will take up the bylaws in the calendar of the year, yes.
Well, I could pass comment on what I think you're doing, but I would just.
I'm
like-
really not interested in what you think I'm doing.
You're not interested in anything I have to say.
At this moment, I want to move on with the agenda, and then we'll get into discussions.
But if you are at a point where you as chairman are not going to allow discussion on the agenda that's already been delayed for a year, so be it. There's nothing more I can do as a private in this here army.
You will get your report just as promised to you. But we will not have a discussion of the bylaws at this meeting.
So says you as chairman.
So says the minutes of our last meeting.
That's just you. The minutes of the last meeting was just comments you made.
Well, you know, if we choose to change that, then we'll choose to change it. But, you know, you've made your unreadiness. Is there another unreadiness?
Unreadiness
Yes.
for the, you mean to approve the agenda?
Yes.
No. That
Previous,
doesn't mean I approve the agenda, it just means I don't have another.
that's all I need to hear from you. Previous question on the agenda. All those in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes?
No.
Ayes have it, so ordered. We have the minutes from the May 27th meeting. All those, have a motion on it.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second that we approve the minutes of our May 27th meeting. It comes to a question, I'm prepared to vote.
No, I have a question.
Your question?
Yes, sir. What I recall is that the HDR proposal totaled approximately $105,000 and was divided into 3 sections, and we're only dealing with 47,000 of it tonight. And there are 2 other pieces. One of it I recall as being, or at least one of them is after we pick a consultant, the consultant has to go out and sell it to the public. That was one of them. And at the moment, I can't recall what the third one was, but what I'm saying is that we're not in a position, I don't think, to discuss approval of the minutes, because what was discussed at the meeting was $105,000, and what's in the minutes is $47,000.
Mr. Besson, you want to
At the last meeting, the staff recommendation was that the council, or the board approve anywhere from $42,000 to $47,000. Approximately $30,000 of that money is to do the solid waste management plan, $12,000 to do a request for interest for the alternative disposal options, to see what's out there, is what's available. That's about $12,000. And as part of the contract that is part of this that we already had in the budget was the debris management plan, and that's an additional about $18,000. But that was already in the budget and approved, the improvement of the $18,000. But is for the solid waste management plan approval and the request for interest of alternative disposals to the solid waste authority is around $47,000. And I have those contracts on my desk currently, not signed, but have them on my desk.
Are you saying that the total amount of money that we are approving is $47,000 and that HDR did not submit a proposal that totaled $110,000 or $5,000 or something?
Several of them submitted proposals, but what they did is submitted, and then we came back and revamped it and redone it and asked everybody to resubmit a different approach. And that approach was to do the solid waste management plan and do a request for interest of alternative disposals for us to look at to see if the board was even interested in moving forward before we spend any more money.
So all that we're authorizing HDR is this $47,000, is that
Yes, sir.
correct? And even if there is more to their proposal than the $47,000 for other services, we're not addressing that tonight, is that correct?
That's correct. I gave you a range of 42 to 47.
Do you have a copy of the HDR proposal?
I do.
I don't have to have it to vote on, but I certainly would be very happy to take your word. And I just need to stand to be corrected that HDR proposal is 40-some thousand, not a total of 3 segments totaling 105 or something.
I think the piece we missed in here is that they submitted one proposal. We made amendments and asked them to resubmit some different numbers for a different way of looking at it. You're looking at the original proposals that everybody submitted. During the negotiation process with all the companies, we asked them to submit a totally different way of doing it. After talking to the companies, they suggested we do it this way, that had bid. And that's what you're seeing, what they bid, not what the alternative to their bid was.
Okay, what we discussed at the meeting was the alternative, not the original bid.
That's right, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Previous question on the minutes? All those in favor make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered. Is there any public input? Chair recognizes none. We'll go to departmental reports and updates. Recycling. Ms. Murphy?
Good evening.
Hello.
My report begins on page 12. I'm going to start with an update on the fiscal year 2015 DHEC grants that we requested back in April. We did receive notification this past month that we were awarded the waste tire grant in the amount of $45,600, used oil grant in the amount of $35,178, and a solid waste grant in the amount of $10,000. The solid waste grant for $10,000 will primarily cover the cost of contractor costs with the electronic waste program. The used oil grant will cover equipment that will be used at the recycling centers, as well as public education funding and some professional development funding for staff. And the waste tire grant primarily covers the cost of the contractor to dispose of the waste tires, as well as public education and professional development.
Did the tire grant get rounded up.
Yes, sir, it was a $35 increase, so we're excited about that. But yeah, they just
Get
round.
more than you asked for.
You'll take it, won't
It doesn't really usually happen that way,
No,
but yeah,
I'll say.
I always notice that little incremental increase, which is very much appreciated.
Good job.
I wanted to let you know that a couple of weeks ago, on June 12th, we installed the 4th bulk waste compactor in the unincorporated collection system. This compactor was installed at the Carolina Forest Recycling Center. We are anticipating a decrease in the number of pulls due to the bulk waste compactor being installed. We've been getting about a 3-to-1, 4-to-1 ratio in pull comparison, and that's held steady with each installation. So now we have one at Socastee, one at North Myrtle Beach, one at Scipio Lane, and then the 4th one at Carolina Forest. And it's working well. Last week, June 24th and 25th, we held our annual Smart Gardener Grow Workshop. Very exciting couple of days here in this particular room. We had great attendance. We had 41 in attendance on the first day, 44 in attendance on the second day. Gary Forrester from Clemson Extension was our instructor for the 2 days, and he offered all types of information on proper gardening and landscaping and things dealing with your yard upkeep. Board member Pam Creech was in attendance both days, and we appreciate her taking the time to come out and take part. And I do want to thank our staff members, Kendra Hooks, Victoria Johnson, and Cecil Terry for overseeing everything that went on over the course of those 2 days. Lastly, I want to give you some upcoming events, some dates on some functions that we have upcoming. Just as a reminder, this Friday is July 4th. All Solid Waste Authority facilities will be closed with the exception of the landfill. It will be operating under holiday hours from 5 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. We will have our unincorporated collection systems quarterly meeting on July 15th and July 16th. All are invited to come and listen to what goes on at those meetings. It's usually very informative. We have a community open house scheduled for July 29th. In the month of August, you all should have received your invitations to attend the, I think we're up to the 20th or 21st annual environmental banquet that we hold for the liaisons, administrators, and teachers from the Horry County schools. That will be held at noon on August 5th. So if you haven't RSVP'd already, you can tell me tonight, and we'll be sure to get you counted in. The last date I want to reference would be the annual SWANA Conference, WasteCon. That's a national conference. It's going to be held August 24th through the 28th in Dallas, Texas. I sent you all a memo and some backup information last week regarding that. If you think you will be attending, if you can let myself or the chairman know tonight, I need to make some arrangements for you while the rates are at a good spot. So if you just let me know and we can go from there.
Will the August board meeting be rescheduled should some board members attend that conference?
Yes, that's what we're looking at. Well, we're looking at proposing tonight.
Any questions?
Will there be further discussion on this at a later time?
In this meeting, yes.
That's what I meant. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, I really did enjoy the Grove. It was very informative. Y'all did an excellent job.
Thank
The presenter did an excellent job. And he did let me know that, as I suspected, I'm not capable of growing plants. There's too much work to that. So, but it was great. The other thing I wanted to say is I talked with Bo Ives with Keep Horry County Beautiful, and we do a lot of taking their trash here
Yes, ma'am.
And so I talked with him about working with his group to see how, when they pick that up, they can separate it so that if we take it, at least it would be recycled, which would help us. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay.
And they're going to be talking about that and probably get back with you on that.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hilling?
Oh, boy.
Good evening to everybody. Have a couple updates on some projects going on outside. What I have on the table right there is the GeoNet and the HDPE liner that are going on in our closure project out there, and I just wanted to share those materials with you. Not sure if all of y'all have seen those before, but we wanted to let you see them. Again, my report begins on page 21. Work is going really, really good on the closure project out there. King is doing a fantastic job. They're on schedule. Everything's going good. Just to let you know, excuse me, we did move our shingle pile over to the recently closed saddle area. They are utilizing that area for their soil and stockpiles, and that's where we realized, if you remember, the value engineering savings of $336,000 in the original bid that King submitted. So we took well advantage of that. They've been doing a lot of stripping. There's some pictures we'll run through in just a minute, stripping and filling in out there in anticipation of putting a liner down. The liner has been delivered. Those are samples, but and the GeoNet is here also. The netting, we're going to start that tomorrow, or King Construction will, and Wednesday they're planning on putting down some of the first phase of the liner out there. So if anyone would like to come out, take a look at it, be more than happy to take you out there and show you the work that's being done. Do have some pictures in here. The first one, you can kind of see where we've moved the shingles. I don't think they're up there. They're in your board book right there. That we moved the shingles over to the saddle area. The second one's a picture of King's stockpile area over there where the shingles were. And then the next two pictures are kind of their sort of the grading and the stripping they've done, and you can see what a really good job on page, I think it's page 27, the finally stripping they've done out there and how well that they've leveled that out and got it really ready for the liner to go down. Excuse me, the next picture is the strippings that we moved to Track D, and those will be reutilized again or recycled once we start putting the soil back on top of the liner when we get toward the end of the project out there, because that was our grass and all that we had out there. And then the final picture under this project right here are some of the rolls of liner that you see right there. So project, again, is going very well. One major little setback, I think a week and a half ago, we had that 4 inches of rain. 3 of it came down within an hour. So we had some washes out there, and we had them on the landfill too, but King is right on it. They've only had one rain day in the first about 40, 45 days. So we're real pleased, and if you get a chance, come on out. I'd like to take you out there and kind of show you how they've been doing. The next one is update on our Green Sea project, where we're doing some timbering and chipping and all out there. The thing has gone way better than I ever anticipated. Brigman has done a great job handling that project out there. They put out bids for the forestry and timbering work out there. We received 3 bids, and Low Country Forestry was our low bid out there. Most of the work, we're getting very close. It's been completed. You'll see some pictures a little bit further on down there. The county came out, and they have gone through 8,400 feet of our ditches out there, and they have done an excellent job. If you get a chance to, Green Sea's out in the middle of nowhere, but right up there, and Steve, your guys have done just a super job taking care of the ditches out there and getting them where the flow is really good. So the maintenance project, which this is all about, that is really going. It's number 1 out there. Brigman has overlooked it, made sure everything has gone really, really well. On your pictures, first picture under that one right there was taken June 2nd. We had just started a little bit of work on the thinning project on the 70 acres. You can kind of see that in the middle of the picture right there. And up above it, going a little bit to the north, you can see where the farmer has done, he's taken charge of that up there. We put that out for bid almost 3 years ago, and Squires Brothers has really done good farming up there on that project. The next one, you can see on the 70 acres, a little bit of thinning we've done up there, really good. And then the next picture we've done on the 31 acres where they've done the chipping. It's really clear. Again, this is getting in anticipation of if we ever have a major storm. It just gives us more area to stockpile storm debris if we need it up there. Next picture is a little 5-acre tract where they clear cut it. And then the last picture under this project, we took it last week. Our flyover gentleman did on June 26th. And you can see the difference if you compare the two pictures, where the 31 acres has been cleared out, the 5 and another 12, and then you can see the 71 acres, how thin it is out there. So, and our road going down the middle, we've still got to get that, and just a little bit of the little ditch work out there, but project has really gone good. I think everyone will be pleased with what they see when they get there.
Bill, what was the contract price on that project?
But there was no cost to us, if you remember. We contracted with them. They estimated about, I think, in the mid-50s. And when I checked with them Friday, through Friday, it was like $54,000. And Brigman Company works on commission. They worked on a 10% commission on that job. So hopefully, we're going to net probably about $50,000 in revenue.
Thank you.
Bill, do you ever get to see the load slips of the timber that they take?
I haven't seen those. I looked at them Friday when I was over there. Brigman Company will be submitting a report to us with every load on there.
Okay.
The weights and what it was, whether it was timbering or chipping for fuel chips or, log sole, whatever. We'll have a total breakdown on that.
Thank you.
This property, if we have a storm, we can utilize all the property there regardless of, right?
It'll be a little tight on that 71 acres right there where we just did the thinning, but the rest of it, yes, we can take it back. The farmer's out there within 48 hours. We take it back and we can use it for storm debris.
Give him a notice of 48 hours and we can move in.
Right, that's in the contract.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Finance.
Good evening. The finance reports begin on page 39. We are now 11 months through the year. Of course, today ends our fiscal year, so I've kind of commented to everybody this morning, try to get everything in as we close out our year. We'll have our audit starting in the 1st of September. Like I said, we've got some things to get started with that, so we're excited about having our year end. But through 11 months, like I said, these reports are through just the end of May. We should be at like 91.63% of budget. As you see on page 39, if you see in the middle of that, our solid waste is at 94.43% of budget. Mixed construction is only at 83.76% of budget. And of course, our yard waste is at 116.54% of budget. So our solid waste and yard waste is doing great. Our mixed construction, of course, is down, as we anticipated that it would be. Further down on that page, you'll see the recyclable sales are at 87.61% of budget. So they're just a little bit below where they should be for the budget. Page 41, which is our
Question, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please use your mic, please.
Thank you. The question I have is, obviously for the year, with everything thrown in, we're only down 1% or something like that. And the total decrease was 83,000, but it's not separated. How much decrease can we attribute to C&D?
Yes, sir. I've got that through June 28th. We're down in tonnage, 7,959 tons for a total of 200 right at $211,000 is what we lost in the C and D tonnage.
So, the figures that you derived earlier are roughly consistent, and I guess you would say it looks like we'll, I know it's hard to guess exactly, but we'll end up with some $200,000 or so short of what we might have received had the amendment not.
That's what we're,
Not
just
gone
that's what
through.
we've got right now, yes, sir. 211,000
Okay, thank you,
as compared to last year. Right.
thank you.
Yes, sir. On page 41, which is the income statement, you can see our revenue total percent of budget is 86%. So we are probably not going to meet our actual revenue for the year. But also our expenses are only at 80% of budget. So the departments are continuing to maintain their expenses, keeping those well below budget as well. So we're anticipating ending, of course, like I said, in the black, as we always do at year end. Just want to call your attention to the, like I said, to the final graph on page 51, which is our mixed construction, just so you can kind of see where we are compared to previous years. This year is in the red line. You can see where we started up high, and we continue to go down. We're well below. As a matter of fact, we're hitting the mark right where we were back in 2010, so 4 years ago. So just to see that trend where our mixed construction has continued to fall. Any other questions on the financial statements?
So that, page 51, what you're saying is that shows that our level of C and D mixed construction is just another way of showing $200,000 off,
That's exactly right, yes, sir.
and that's where it was in what year?
Looks like 2010, in May of 2010 is right where we were this year in May.
Thank you.
So you're saying our financial income, in essence, is where we were 2010, based on this year without C and D?
Just the C and D,
Just the
tonnage
C&D.
is where we were in
2010.
2010. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But the budget is balanced.
The budget's balanced, yes, sir.
In fact, the budget was balanced at 400,000.
Yes, sir. We made cuts and we have unfunded positions to do so.
Actually, in terms of budget preparation, I understand a budget is all it is an estimate of what might happen in the future.
Right.
This time, it is not quite as bad as we thought it would be back in February or whenever that was.
Right, our estimates that we had back in February, correct. We
It's,
anticipated.
We're
We were fortunate.
doing better than we thought we would.
Yes, sir, we did a little bit, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Now, Jim, but we did better on this budget for the simple reason we held those positions open,
That's exactly right.
and we
Due to the
cut them
cuts-
in next year.
That's exactly right. Due to the cuts that we made during the year, the positions we didn't fill and we have not funded for next year is what helped us maintain our expenses being under our revenue right now. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Just got a little bit tonight, let you know where we at on our incentive programs. Our MSW incentive is, we've issued out about $212,000 in credits. Last month, we did have one hauler that brought more material to us at the MRF, and they got a little bit more incentive in this next quarter than they got before. They were getting about $1.50 off, and they've gone to about $1.75. I think it is off for the next quarter, so they've moved up a little bit. We do think we'll be on budget. Our C&D factories at $57,000 worth of credits to the haulers. And of course, our C&D recycling incentive programs are still at the same because we have nobody participating in those currently. We've currently issued about $281,000 in credits back to haulers since we started the program July 1 of last year. Any questions?
Do you know if any of the haulers have done any incentives to their customers?
I don't know, it only through the rumors and stuff. I know people that are, they're offering recycling too now. They're offering a reduction in either some kind of rebate formula or reduction in their waste services if they collect their recyclables. The ones that participating in the program. There's only one hauler that's picking up garbage that's participating.
Thank you.
Also, one other thing I did want, once we get the HDR contract executed, we will be setting dates for the update of the solid waste management plan. And we'll also be in the process of setting the dates for the updated disaster debris plan. So we'll be setting those meetings, and we'll make you all aware of those as we move them forward.
May I ask that we give as much notice as you possibly can? I mean, 1 or 2 days' notice is sometimes just hard to deal with.
Yeah, well, as soon as we can get the dates set, as soon as we get the contract executed, we will start setting the dates and notifying the Technical Advisory Committee, which is the one that will oversee that plan.
What committee?
Technical Advisory Committee, which is made up of city appointments and county appointments and private industry and community interest people is made up of that, and they're the one that drafts the solid waste management plan. And after it's drafted and we have public meetings on it, and the public approves it, then it comes before the board here for their approval and on the county council.
I think what you're saying is because of the large size and the various stakeholders, we probably have more than 2 days' notice, probably have several weeks' notice.
Yeah, what the solid waste management plan, how the solid waste management plan is done and carried out must be done and consistent in the way it was done in 1993. A judge ruled several years back that it must be handled the exact same way. So it takes some time to put those dates together and move them forward.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a moment, Mr. Besant, did you ever find out the question I had asked that you were talking with DHEC about?
We did. The C&D haulers in the county or C&D recycling facilities in the county have not reported anything to DHEC since we had requested them to report it last year in order for them to have their C&D haulers license or C&D designated facilities for recycling. They have not submitted anything. We got that records, but we had those, but that was the last that was submitted to them. They did not submit anything in December and January as they were required to do typically. We have asked DHEC to provide us with a current information, and they said they would notify the 2 designated facilities and ask them to submit something and then get it back to us.
If you don't have that by the next meeting, at the next meeting, I'd like to know the person's name at DHEC that you're talking to, please.
We're talking with a gentleman by the name of Marty Lindard, Linder.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A group traveled to Charleston County landfill to look at their food composting program. We had staff members, some of the board members. And a couple of weeks before this group went, Mike Besant and I went, and I was really impressed on how simple it seemed based on what I thought that we were going to see. And I know Miss Creech had been talking about food composting ever since she's been on the board. And Mr. Law talked about a lot when he was on the board. He was pushing for it. Of course, DHEC didn't approve it then. Charleston went through a pilot program and seems to be working well. So it'd be my recommendation to proceed on with some cost estimates and see if in fact we could make it work here based on the board's directions.
Yes.
I would like to say that I had been looking at that for quite a few months and done a lot of research on it, and because our area with the motels, the restaurants, we have so many of them in the schools here, it would interested me to see how that would be done. Some of the things that concerned me would be the smell and that kind of thing. But when we went up there, I was amazed at how they processed that, and that you could walk right up to it within 6 inches and you could not smell the food that they had, and how it was processed, and the short time that their turnaround time was. They even showed us from the top, they have feral hogs, and I thought that those would actually be rooting in their garbage, but they don't even have enough smell for them to smell that. They don't even get into their garbage. Raccoons, dogs, cats, or whatever do not. I was impressed, and I was impressed with their facilities, how they had it kept, and I would really like for everyone to be able to see that, for every board member to be able to see that and how it's done. But I would like to make a motion to allow staff to put together a proposal for our facility to recycle food waste and give us that information as a board.
It's been properly moved and second that we give staff the authority to put together a proposal to look at recycling food. Comes to a question, we're prepared to vote.
No, I want
Questions?
discussion.
Is the program voluntary in Charleston for restaurants? Yeah. It's voluntary?
Yes,
Okay.
They offer a reduction in tipping fees to try to encourage it. And we'll take a look at that. They've got their park systems. Apparently, they've got a couple of big water parks in Charleston County. They're involved, and the schools are involved. And we're hoping that the new school person will take this and really push the schools to do it, even if it's in the elementary schools where we're already dealing with the talking trash programs. And I think that's kind of where we would get started. And I think it would be, we'd start out basically as a pilot program to see how it was received and accepted here. But it's a clean operation, open, outside, no buildings. I was impressed with it.
One of the things, Ms. Thomas, that I would like for the staff to look at is how we can make this attractive to the business owner, that it would be that would incentivize it to the point that it would be something he would want to participate in.
Mr. Gray?
Thank you. My question is not necessarily related to the efficacy of the pilot program. It's related to the methodology of who was chosen to go on this trip and why. Ms. Powell sent out a notice to staff members and all board members, and within 2 hours, she replied back to me. She said, "Mr. Gray, we have you down." And so she didn't say I was going. She just said, I have you down. She was acknowledging that I had replied that I would like to go. The next day, I received a phone call from Mike Besson, which said, "You can't go." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, Danny Knight said you can't go because Mike Campbell and Norfleet Jones are going along with Pam. And that would, if you went, that would constitute a quorum. And that implies that we can't take a fourth, could have been any fourth, but we can't take a fourth because we're going to discuss company business." And I just think that's a heck of a way to run the railroad. You got a board member who's interested in a subject. He's invited to go. He replies immediately. Then the next day he's told that he can't go, but 2 other board members, actually in this case 3 other board members, but I kind of exclude Ms. Creech because this was something that she brought up herself. I went back and saw that you had brought it up at previous meetings. But what I'm interested in, Mr. Chairman, Yes, Mr. Campbell and Mr. Jones haven't said a word. Yet they went, I was excluded. I don't think that I'm opposed to the program. In fact, I appreciate the fact that Ms. Creech spent 2 hours with me on Friday explaining the program. And one thing that she left out, Lance, was an incentive. In Charleston, the tipping fee is $66 a ton. They dump this food waste for $15 to $25 a ton. It doesn't take no rocket scientist to figure out that, as I understand it, there's 5 haulers that participate in this program, and they make money and their customers make money, and that's how we don't have that luxury at $30, $29 a ton versus $66 a ton. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't try some pilot program. I think that the end product, meaning a mulch that's partially organic and material and partially yard waste. I mean, I see the advantage of that, and I totally think that's a great product. I just don't understand how is it that Mr. Knight or you, it says, well, you can go, but you can't go. Why is that?
Because there's a requirement where if there are 4 board members on official business, it becomes an official meeting of the entire board and not just that group.
We have 4 board members go all the time. We had it go down to Repower. We have it when we go to Columbia and lobby up in Columbia. But that's not even my question. My question is why that group to the exclusion of me?
Because I think that your exclusion is not from them, it's exclusion from yourself, in that you always feel that there's a reason why you're excluded. I mean, that's something you've dealt with every single meeting almost. There's a reason why you feel you're excluded from everybody else, and it's not.
I was excluded.
No, you were told that you could not go because of the quorum issue. That was the bottom line. You know, if you remember when we went to the I&R meeting, remember we wait a minute, let me finish my statement. Remember, let me finish my statement. Let me finish my statement. If you remember the day that we went to I&R meeting, when we walked in and all the council members were there, one of the statements that was made by the chairman of that committee was that you other board members cannot open your mouth, you other council members cannot open your mouth at this meeting, otherwise it constitutes an official meeting of county council. It's that kind of concept.
Dodging the question.
I'm
Why
not
was he
dodging the
picked,
question.
or why
I'm
was
dealing
he
with the
picked?
question.
No, you're not.
I am dealing with the question.
I volunteered to go. I immediately was responded, we have your name. The next day I was told I can't go.
Okay, so who should have been left out? I mean, you know, it's a.
I don't know, you made the decision, you tell me.
Yeah. So, I mean, so if Norfleet had been left out, he would have felt excluded. Pam was left out, she could have felt excluded.
Why did you
Mike
leave
was
me
left
out?
out, he could have been excluded.
Why Mr. Campbell and why Mr. Jones?
I mean, why not Mr. Campbell and why not Mr. Jones?
Why not Mr. Gray?
Danny, answer that for me.
That's what I figured.
We took the.
No, hold on a minute. Let me say something to you that I've been holding off saying for a year. You asked me at the very beginning of your coming to this board to give you the opportunity to establish a reputation for yourself. I've done that. But your reputation states that you think you know it all, and you don't. You're not the only person who has the right answer at the right time and the right situation.
All right.
Now, stop.
You are not a dictator.
No, I'm not a
You're
dictator,
simply
but
a
I'm
member
chairing
of the
this
board.
board, and as long as I'm chairing it,
I'm
you're going to,
asking a question.
as long as I'm chairing it, you're not
We
going to
don't
talk over me.
all you want to. I was
Exactly.
voted on not by you, but by county council
That's
of
fine.
the League of Cities.
That's fine, I have no problems with
I
that.
asked a legitimate question.
And I answered your question, you
want to
just didn't
dictate
like
an
the
answer.
answer. You just didn't like the answer, like you don't like any answer.
I don't like you calling me names, and I don't like you characterizing me as not being a responsible member, and I don't like you characterizing me as not having a place at this table, and I don't like you not answering me as to why I was
I answered your
excluded.
question, you didn't like the answer. End of discussion.
Let me answer.
It's all right, Danny. I know the answer.
No, you don't.
No, you think you know the answer.
Let me answer. You know,
Go right ahead, Mr. Executive Director.
we have a diversion committee group, Mr. Gray, and you know that.
Yes.
The two other members that you called out wanted to go. Ms. Creech wanted to go. To keep it under a quorum, we kept it to 3. Now, we offered you the chance to go the following week.
No, I got a call one day and says, if you want to go, say so, we're going tomorrow, the next day.
We were-
I already had a full schedule. In the meantime, I had already talked to Art Braswell, and I had already checked on it, and I had a conversation with Ms. Creech. I think the program's fine. I think the methodology that you use and the exercise, the leadership that you exercise leaves a whole lot to be desired.
And
I'm ready to vote.
We thank you for your thought. Previous question. All those in favor of Ms. Creech's recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Thank you. Next item. Committee reports. Nomination Committee.
Mr. Chairman, due to questions asked and statements made about the nomination committee does not have a slate of officers to present to the full board, but would ask that you open the floor to accept nominations from the board.
Any objections to the nominating committee's report?
Want to make
Can it
sure
be
I-
accepted? Yes.
You're saying, don't accept your recommendation.
I didn't make a recommendation.
Yes, you did, I was there.
No, you were at a meeting, and I'm not going to argue with you. You can argue with him if you want to. I'm not. I
sat
state,
right there, you sat right there.
Mr.
John Long
Gray.
sat
Mr.
right-
Chairman,
Mr. Gray, let him finish his report.
Mr. Chairman, I speak to you, and my report is the nomination committee does not have a slate of officers. We ask that you open the floor and accept nominations from the floor. Open the,
You've heard the report from the committee. What's your disposition?
I was at the meeting.
Mr.
I
Mr.
heard-
Gray,
heard
you're
your
out of
vote.
order. What is your disposition? Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a nomination. Like
No,
to make-
no, this is not the time for nomination. We're simply accepting a report.
Oh, on the report, okay.
What is the,
Either you accept his report or reject it.
accept his report?
Yes. Is there a motion to accept his report?
So moved.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. We received a report coming from the nominating committee. Are there any questions? Now you may talk, Mr. Gray.
Thank you. I was at the meeting. The meeting was a secret meeting.
No, it was not a secret meeting.
Yes, it was. No one knew about it
Then how were you at the meeting if it was secret?
because I asked Mr. Jones, when did he plan to have a meeting? He said, I'm going to have it immediately after this meeting.
That meeting was announced during our meeting.
No, it wasn't.
It was so.
Okay.
Mr.
Moving
Chairman, the
on.
meeting was announced during the board meetings. It's in the minutes. And I stated everybody was welcome, but they would not be allowed to speak. Told them it was there. Told them it was because Mr. Long was going out of town on a long trip and he had asked for it. I said that during the meeting. It was
No,
nothing
well, you
secret
may
about
have, it's not in the minutes. Mr. Long didn't leave until the 18th. You had 3 weeks to have a meeting, to have an open meeting like we did the previous year. Mike, you were there. We had an open meeting. It was advertised well in advance. People came, and there was discussion. None of that was
That
had.
was not, you were the only one that attended the meeting other than the board, or the committee members.
And you were there, and you know exactly how it was handled. It was not handled, and then, so I asked John Long, and John Long don't lie. I asked John, I said, John had pulled out a list, and he read off 4 names. And the 4 names were voted on. They were, Mr. Jones called for a nomination, and it was made and seconded and voted on. It took longer for the pledge and it was a secret meeting held. John said there was telephone calls beforehand, and it was all decided. Lance, you were supposed to be chairman. You're not going to be chairman. And it was done in secret. I think it was a terrible, horrible way to run this organization. I know I'm going to be outvoted.
Mr. Gray, let me share something with you. Please consider putting me on the nominating committee. I pledge not to promote myself for any position, even if I asked, like John Long proposed me last year. I've promised Mike Campbell support for secretary or treasurer. I know Mike wants to be an officer and has worked hard. I don't have anyone in mind for vice chair. Of course, it is customary for Lance to move to chairman. Certainly, I'm in favor of that. I did ask Pam if she would consider vice chair several months ago. I think she would be a good one. She did not give me an answer. I will stay out personally, but would like to be on the committee. Hope you have a successful Mother's Day crowd. I'm sure you'll have a strong, meaningful message. See you Monday. God bless. Dan. The same thing you're accusing others of, you did yourself.
You
Is that not your text that you sent me?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. End of discussion on that. Same thing you're accusing others of, you do.
I asked to be on the committee.
And you were not put on the committee, and that's really your issue.
That's not my issue. My issue is that there was a secret meeting where it was determined in advance who the officers were going to be.
It
And
was
the meeting a
recommended.
sham. The meeting was a sham.
There are no officers at this point. There has not been an election. Even if a nominating committee brought a report back, that does not mean the board has to
Meeting was a
accept
sham.
the
It was
report.
not held in open. You can have it open. You can be chairman, you can be vice chairman, you can be secretary, and you can be treasurer.
Here's the minutes.
Fine.
Chairman Coakley appointed Mr. Jones, Mr. Long, and Mr. Campbell to the nomination committee. He stated Mr. Jones would serve as chairman of the committee. Mr. Long commented that he would be out of the country for the June board meeting. Mr. Jones asked the committee members to meet after the board meeting. That's the minutes of our meeting. Those are the minutes of our meeting. It was announced in this meeting.
Okay.
Previous question. All those in favor of the report from the nominating committee, please say aye.
No.
Opposes, nay. Ayes have it, so ordered. Next item on the agenda. Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Administration Committee did meet on June the 17th. There were several items on our agenda. Ms. Bidding brought to our attention the fact that we were changing our policy on statements and invoices that would be emailed to customers. And it was basically an update to let us know of a cost-saving measure. The committee did respond favorably to that, but Ms. Bidding, if you would like to add anything further.
On the emailing of the statements, Mr. Thompson, you had asked me about a cost savings, so we did go back and kind of take a look at that. We mail out approximately 140 statements to landfill and MRF customers a month and 500 cardboard customers. Now, we do the cardboard mass mailing quarterly, but then we also have in-between mailings. So we estimated if we went and we emailed statements to everyone versus mailing them, we could save approximately $3,500 a year, and that's just in postage and statements. That's not manpower. So we do have that in place. We are going to get that started this week. We're doing our first emailing of statements starting tomorrow. So, like I said, we are looking forward to that. But like I said, we're hoping that maybe we can eventually make this more of a mandatory thing for our customers so we can get everybody on that.
The committee thought any cost savings was good cost savings, and this was a very good move on our part. So any questions from the board about that particular item on the agenda?
We're not discussing credit cards for individual employees at this time, are we?
Not yet. That's the next item.
Okay, thank you.
So the next item on the agenda was the purchasing card program. Ms. Bidding brought the committee up to speed on the details of that. And Ms. Bidding, anything further?
No, or just a few things. I had met with Mr. Gray not quite a week ago, and he had brought to my attention that he had talked with with John Gardner with the Horry County School District. One of his concerns being transparency, which we had talked about as well, and I had indicated to you that I wasn't sure exactly what I would be able to put online. So Mr. Gray mentioned that the school district has a report, a purchasing card report that they put online. So Mike Bessett and I went and met with Mr. Gardner last week to take a look at their report and talk to him about it, as well as the fact that I've gotten back in touch with Wells Fargo, and they've sent me some sample reports that are automatic reports that we'll get every week automatically, that are in the format of a list of card holder, list each transaction, transaction amount, and date. Easily enough for us to create that, take that Excel report, put it into a PDF, and put it right online. So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to put something online as well, very similar to exactly what the school district does. Like I said, I'd had conversation also with City of North Myrtle Beach. They also incorporate theirs with their check register. I had also talked with Barry Spivey with the county. They do not put anything with their purchasing card online. That was just their decision, but we will be able to, so I don't want that to be an issue or concern of any of the board members. Like I said, we'll have those reports available.
May I speak?
Chairman.
May I speak?
Of course.
Thank you. You said they would be available. Are you saying that each individual card holder's record will be online, just like the check register is online?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
what you're saying?
Yes, sir, in that same format that you saw from the school district, it'll list the card holder. Underneath that card holder's name, it'll have all their transactions for the week. It'll be something we'll put on there weekly, just like we do the check register for that week. And like I said, it'll have their transactions, who the vendor was that they made the purchase from, and the amount and the transaction date.
Thank you. That's leadership.
Have you looked at different opportunities about that in terms of the pros and cons of that from the different agencies?
Yes, sir, we have. We've talked to, like I said, talking to North Myrtle Beach and the county. It's amazing, like I said, that they all use it for quite a few different opportunities. The county in particular, they use it for everything that they
But
possibly
I mean,
can.
I'm not talking about the card, I'm talking about the posting. Have you looked at the pros and cons of dealing with that aspect of
For
it?
the posting, like to our general ledger,
Yeah.
it'll be an automatic posting once a week as well. So therefore, again, it'll be less paperwork for us, less checks that we'll have to write. It'll be a great time savings for the finance department. Because I just got through with Wells Fargo today. They're going to create a format that our software people will automatically download once a week into our general ledger.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Jan, were you checking into this way of doing business prior to meeting with Mr. Gray?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've been talking about this for, a few months now. Like I said, we've been looking into it. It was something we wanted to wait and not get into place until July 1st. And like I said, I had talked to you before about reports, and like I said, I just couldn't give you any definitive answers until I knew exactly what the program would do for us as far as what we could put online.
That was something that she did not, although I want to praise you for what you have done.
Well, thank you.
No criticism at all whatsoever. She did not disclose what you just implied at all whatsoever. We met for a better part of 2 hours.
So
She's been working on credit cards for a good while, that's true.
So you're not telling me she's not being truthful here tonight?
I'm telling you, you made an incorrect statement.
And that
I
was?
don't think so.
And can you speak briefly about the lack of cost for this program to us and also the rewards program, just so the full board understands the benefits, further benefits to us?
Right. There is a 1% rebate that we will receive on any purchases made with the purchasing card, which is why they recommend if we're going to make any large purchases with it, with possibly even a contract, if we were going to build a building or purchase a large piece of equipment, anything like that we could possibly use it for to recoup that 1%. There is no cost to us. Like I said, it's a benefit. It's a win-win. Like I said, we were looking for something that was going to be time-saving as well as a cost-saving for the finance department, as well as, like I said, we'll recoup this 1%. So it's definitely to our benefit and for our employees to use it, to utilize it as much as they possibly can.
Yes, ma'am.
Does the gentleman that we have hired to close the landfill, does he take a credit card? If he does, I want to pay him that way.
And that's something we said that we could look into in the future,
I
putting that
bet he
into our,
does. I bet he does.
I started putting that into our, like I said, into our bids at a later point when we do come up on these contracts, putting that into place. But we will have what we're going to call an equipment card to make large purchases, you know, for equipment or for contracts.
Mr. Chairman, the committee heard the presentation from Ms. Bidding. We voted to support the staff's recommendation to make these changes to the purchasing policy, and I'd put that in the form of a motion.
Probably moved in second that we accept the recommendations coming from the Finance Administration in reference to purchasing card and issues coming from Finance Administration. All those in favor make a note.
I wanted to make a discussion, please. As I understand it, there will be an individualized accounting for each and every card holder, just like there is with the check register.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
All those in favor make a note by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered.
Next item on the agenda was the print and sign accounts payable and payroll checks. Ms. Bidding, I'll turn it over to you again.
Yes, sir. We are excited about that. That is where we're going to take the signing and processing of our accounts payable and payroll checks back in-house. The county's been processing our checks and printing them quite some time. And as they're changing their financial software, it came to our attention that they may have to start charging us a fee to print our checks for us. So we took a look at what it would cost us to do this in-house. There was about a $14,000 cost as an initial setup with the purchase of a pressure sealing machine, as well as a toner and the software and just some other incidentals to get this started. We are excited. We did get our pressure sealer in this week. We've gotten our checks and our paper and our toner, and so now we're just waiting to get the software ready and going and get our signatures. So hopefully we'll have that in the next week or two. So within the next week or two, we'll be processing our own checks here. We also, and just so all of you are aware as well, with this, we're also making our payroll direct deposit mandatory. So if you aren't currently on direct deposit, that includes the board as well. If you'll get in touch with Nanette, she can help get that set up for you. That just more of a security and safety feature for us, that we don't have payroll checks floating around, because we have to deliver them to all the recycling centers each week. And if an employee's out sick or on vacation or out on workers' comp, we may have a live check sitting around waiting on that person. And this just makes it a lot more safe and secure. If there's a storm, employees have their money directly. So we are making that mandatory starting July 1st. They have until the 1st of September to get it in place. So we are excited about that, and I appreciate your support on all of that.
Any further questions for Ms. Bidding? If not, that wraps up the finance portion of our committee meeting. We'll move on to administration. Mr. Besant, we actually heard that because of the amended flow control ordinance, there was the necessity to extend the current hauler's license through July 30th, 2014. Mr. Besant, anything further to add to that?
That's basically it. We just need the board to approve to extend our current license for 30 days, given the opportunity for our people to get their applications in. We've received a lot already. We've sent the email out to people and received a lot of the applications back, but we wanted to give them at least 30 days to do it and not push them into a week or two, and we've asked the board to extend it by 30 days, and that's it.
Mr. Chairman, the committee voted to approve or send to the full board the staff's recommendation that we did extend this license. I'll put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Moved and properly second that we give the time necessary to extend the hauler's license. Comes to a question. All those in favor make a note by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Besant. And lastly, on the agenda, the farming of the 1187 property. Mr. Hilling took the committee through. We actually had a pre-bid conference. Two proposed bidders were at the pre-bid conference. We actually only ended up with one bidder, but I'll let Mr. Hilling tell the board about the property and the contract that's being considered.
Sorry about the mic here. Yeah, we did only have one bid come in for the farming over there. We're looking at a potential 108 farming acres over there. Just to kind of give you a little comparison, up at the Greensea site, we have 98 farmable acres up there. We put that out for bid, like I said, it was about 2.5 years ago. When we got a bid on the Green Sea property for the farming area, we received $85 an acre for the farming. For the bid for the A2 property over there, we received $10 per acre at A2 over here. Our 5-year agreement with, at the Green Sea property is worth about $50,000. The 5-year agreement over at the A2 property is valued at $5,405. Couple things to consider. Our maintenance, when we used to go up there, we don't have to go to Green Sea anymore. It costs us about $2,500 a year to go up there and do our maintenance. We estimate the size of the property over at the A2 property right around $8,000 to do our maintenance, to go over there and mow it and some other things we have to do. But again, we got one bid in. Our recommendation really is for board discussion, for y'all to discuss it over there and see which direction you like to go in. If approved, grant the executive director be authorized to negotiate a contract with a provision for a purchase out option.
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion that we give this back to staff, back to Danny, to come up with a minimum bid. And I think with this land over here, which has not been farmed, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
The first 2 or 3 years are gonna be reasonably non-productive. They're gonna have to build it up. So I would suggest something like an escalating price. First year's X number, second year's X number. It goes, excuse me, it goes from there. But I personally have no interest in the $10. And I think it's up to staff to figure out where we stand financially and where it becomes profitable us to lease that and not to lease it, and let them come back with a recommendation. I would put that in the form of a motion.
I second.
And properly moved in second that we turn it over to staff to come up with the potential minimum for the property. It comes to the question, prepared to vote.
No.
Unreadiness?
As I understand the motion is that staff is not authorized to execute a contract. They've been asked to come back with a recommendation for a contract.
The motion states that.
Yes, that's the motion. Mr. Thomas?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like for Mr. Hilling to kind of address the conversation that happened at the bid opening about the condition of the property. I'm not a farmer, but there were comments made about the condition of that property as compared to the other. Was that?
I'm sorry, excuse me, I wasn't in that meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You weren't
but
at that meeting.
that's,
I was.
looking at the 2 pieces of property, or she was, but looking at the 2 pieces of property, that's a fair statement. That's the purpose of the escalating bid, is that the property at Green Sea had previously been farmed. It was ready to be farmed again. This property has never been farmed, and it takes a couple of 3 years to get it built up to where it's really gonna start producing. But Ms. Creech, you were there.
I was, and the discussion, the $85 that we get on the farm there, I think I questioned that before because I have farmland and I get $110 an acre. And everybody's land is not the same. I do believe that the man would have to put forth some effort and some expense to get this ready to farm. And so I'm not opposed to discussing a lower bid than the 85 or the 110. But I agree with Mr. Jones in the fact that this man made the comment, he talked with the people that would bid, no one's bidding, so he just puts down $10. I think that is way low. I don't even think that is worth us taking the chance of liability, particularly with the comment of we might run the deer back over to the hunting thing section. Those things I have a problem with. I don't have any problem with hunting, and I think it's great for him to hunt on his property, and I realize that the discussion, he would have to get a nuisance permit with DNR. But I think we have to understand that no matter what someone signs that says they're liable, when their money runs out, we're the next person people are gonna look to, and we are the one that has the money that would pay the big thing, and even if our insurance would choose to do that, we would have more insurance. So if you're looking at $10 an acre, around $3,000 a year, I personally would not make that decision on my own property to do that. I don't have any problem renting it. I don't have any problem with a man having a year at a cheaper rate, but I don't think it should be through 5 years at $10 an acre. And I do think the man needs to give us a plan. He submitted no plan, nothing that he was gonna plant, no monies that he was gonna spend. And I would like to see a plan on what he's doing, and I would like for it to be in there that if he did not do the farming and do the plan, that there would be a drawback to that. I would not be interested in voting to see the Solid Waste Authority rent that much acreage near hunting land for a ridiculously low fee. So I would like to second your motion, because I think this needs a lot more discussion, and I think in the future that we might need to have a minimum and have a proposal for a plan that these people submit to us so that we can look at that and make sure that's adhered to from year to year. Thank you.
Do we know why Mr. Squires was not, I mean, he attended the pre-bid conference and then did not place a bid. Do we know why he elected not to?
Just, he had gone over there previously, a few months before, and word got back that he considered the soil real sandy, and I think it, like Ms. Creech and Mr. Jones were saying, it was going to take some definite work to get it up, farmable land.
My only final comment is that the $10, if whatever the minimum bid is made, if we don't get anything, then nothing is less than 10, plus we're still gonna spend the $8,000 a year to maintain it, correct? So,
Yes, sir.
all right, thank you, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, the farmer, whoever's successful bidder, they are to maintain that property, though, is that
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Right. And it's gonna be new ground development, so it is gonna take him several years to develop it into a property that he can use and plan on. But he should give us, as Mr. Jones said, he should give us some prices on first year, second year, third, fourth, fifth year. But, yeah, I agree with that.
May I speak?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, I was present for the pre-bid and the bid opening. I didn't see you there. I
You
did
don't
see-
need to address Mr. Jones, so you need to address the chair.
He made the motion.
That's okay, you still address the chair.
Yes, sir. I did see Ms. Creech there for the, for both, and, Mr. Thompson was there for the pre-bid. I think that, a good analysis has been made by the persons who took the time to come to the meeting. And, I agree with the thought process. I think it would be a good thing for all board members to come to meetings whenever they can and whenever there's adequate notice. Thank you.
I got lost in there somewhere, but anyway, at $10 an acre, you can't rent hunting land around here for that. He owns, the gentleman leases the land next to ours. For $10 an acre, it's worth that to him just to run the deer back in the hunting area. So there's more involved in it than just taking the $10. I wasn't there, but I do read, and I do think, and I stand by my motion. Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor.
Second.
It's been second. All those in favor of the motion, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Ayes have it, so ordered. Bring a report back in the next board meeting. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report of Finance Administration Committee. Thank you.
All right. Any old business or unfinished business that we have other than, in terms of your request for board meeting, as we said, recommendation is that we would actually have a workshop, board workshop, and then have a workshop to deal with the bylaws. I want to throw out some dates to you for your recommendation consideration. We do that. Potential dates are July 10th, July 14, July 28, 31 for the workshop, whichever days y'all are willing to accept, do the workshop.
Right, Friday.
July 10, July 14, July 28, or July 31. After completing a board workshop, then we would actually schedule a meeting to handle the board bylaws again in a workshop form. The recommendation would be if we chose the June 10th date, we would do the board bylaws on the 14th. If we chose the July 14th date for the workshop, we would do the board bylaws on the afternoon or the morning of the 28th before our regular board meeting. If we did the workshop on the 28th, we would do the bylaws on the 7th. And if we chose the 31st, we would do the bylaws again on the 7th, whichever, we,
Wouldn't be our regular board meeting, would it?
it would, that
not?
evening would be, but we could work during the day if
That's
we
a
chose
Monday.
to. Monday, yeah.
Are we meeting Monday in July?
I'm sorry. 29, I'm sorry. 22nd, I'm sorry. Got my dates wrong.
Do we have an idea about the length of time for the meetings?
I would suggest that the workshop would take approximately 3 to 4 hours, and your bylaws are gonna take approximately that long.
Could I recommend, if it pleases the board, to do the workshop on July the 10th and then the bylaws on the 31st, both on Thursdays? Mondays are very bad for me. I don't know about other people, but
That,
Fine with
Okay.
me,
10th and 31st?
fine with me.
Right. Be
I have a conflict on the 10th.
All day? Could we do an
What,
afternoon on the 10th?
Yes,
Afternoon?
yes.
I would prefer the afternoon.
is that a conflict with you, or is it open?
I can do in the afternoon of July 10th.
Okay,
That would suit me
That
better
would
in
be
the
fine.
afternoon on the 10th, anytime on the 31st, but on the 10th,
What was the other date that you wanted to do?
July 31st.
July 10 would be the workshop, and July 31st would be the bylaws.
I'm fine with that. Is there a time set for that?
I would recommend, 2 o'clock?
2 p.m.?
And what time for the 10th?
I would suggest the same time.
Could I ask a question?
Yes,
We had them all right, ready to go. They've been red line, blue line, black line, workshopped, discussed backwards and forwards. Did something come up
in terms of what?
that we couldn't go with what we had ready to go last year at this time?
I mean, we're gonna pull those out and deal with them at that time, but I think there are some issues that we need to look at as a board,
What are they?
before we actually get into the board. We'll deal with that in the workshop.
It's a secret right now.
There are no secrets on this board, Dan Gray, at least not from my position.
Well, I
I
asked,
hold no secrets. I have no secrets. I mean, what secrets do I have about trash?
I'm just asking a question. Why are you getting so upset? We had them right,
Because,
ready to go.
because you come with those innuendos and you've been doing it for a full year.
We had them right, ready to go a year ago. Nothing has
And the
changed.
board set them aside and we just haven't brought them back. That was the simple matter.
And you can give no reason why we should go through it all again. We're just gonna do it again.
I'm not saying we're going through everything again. I'm simply saying, if you remember, we recommended going through this handbook. We never did it. I think we need to do that before we look at bylaws. Now, that's just my recommendation as
You're
chairman. If
not
you choose to
answering my
do something
question,
different,
but-
I'm answering your question.
No, you're giving words, you're just not.
No, I'm
asking.
answering your question. Whether
Yes,
you
you
like the answer or not, it's my answer.
Have there been some changes? That's all I asked.
And I told you, no.
Okay. Thank you.
So we should plan from 2 to 5 on the 10th and the 31st?
Yes.
Or 2 to at least 5?
Yes.
5.
That's my recommendation. Now, you as a board, you have an option to go with it or without it. I mean,
It works for me.
I make a move, we accept those 2 dates and move on.
Second.
I'll second.
motion is made, it comes to a question. Comments? Concerns? All in favor, make a known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered. New business, Mr. Gosnell.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm before you today. We found out a few months ago that, from the delegation, go to the first slide, Susan, about a shooting range, a public shooting range. Representative Clemens was very involved in it, as well as the DNR. The idea is to have or build a public shooting range. It would provide access for anybody who wanted to come shoot, sight their rifles in, shoot shotguns, pistols, whatever. There's supposedly, according to the DNR, federal funding available to at least build the first phase, and we're at the top of the list because of the demand, I guess, in Horry County. Horry County would be the owner, we'd manage it, run it, probably through our recreation department. And as I understand it, from a timing perspective, the funds are available once we identify a site that is acceptable to the DNR. Depending on what we build, it's 5 to 20 acres. In your handout, there's some detailed drawings of the various different rifle, pistol ranges. I didn't include them here because it's too hard to see. And actually, it's pretty tough to see on those on the handout. I can get you a full set of plans out here so you can look at it if you like. This is photographs from one in Lawrence County, South Carolina. You see it's a pistol range on one side, a rifle range on the other. This is looking, you'd be firing into the berm on this end. The next one. That's if you look at the opposite direction. It's really just some berms and a cover and a bench so you can sit and sight your rifles in or shoot your guns. There is also a plan in the handout for a clay shotgun range, shooting clay or trap. We don't know how much money is totally available, but that would be an option we could add at some point as well. Staff has been tasked with identifying a site, location, and recommendation to bring back to County Council. We've got various sites that we've identified kind of preliminarily or from a concept perspective. These are the 4 sites that we know of. We've looked at kind of conceptually. Cool Springs Business Park, I think that was, that made the list because of the new rifle range, or the rifle company that's there. Conway Firing Range, that's off of Highway 905, close to the city of Conway. Our old Coquina Pit off of Highway 9 is a large acreage that we own and have control over. That certainly will be vetted as a possible site. And then we talked to Danny a little bit, and we'd like to, and the reason I'm here is to ask you if it would be all right for us to include in those locations the 1187 tract as a possible use for property, do basically what you saw in the photographs. County Council hasn't had seen this list, wanted to come before y'all first and make sure that I didn't spin my wheels working and vetting out that tract of property without y'all's knowledge and y'all's at least concurrence to allow us to go ahead and study it. And that, in a nutshell, is my presentations, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I'll be glad to answer them.
Mr. Jones?
If this site was chosen, would it be a contractual arrangement between us and the county? Who's gonna run it? What are you doing about liability? What are you doing about contamination from the lead? I mean, you're asking us to answer a question, and I don't think I know enough of the rules to answer the test yet.
Yes, sir. We're not asking, all I'm asking is to allow that to be one that we consider. Anything going forward, if that site came up as the top one that staff recommended, and county council wanted to go down that road, there would have to be a long-term lease between the Solid Waste Authority and Horry County. That would be required in order to get the federal funding, and it could address all those issues, the lead contamination issues, safety issues, access issues,
Okay.
all those things.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Creech?
How long do you think the federal grant would last? What happens if the federal grant goes away?
It's gonna go away if we don't identify a site, it's going to another county. There's several that are, knocking on the door to try to get those funds.
What I'm saying, though, is a grant, usually at some point you have to start taking over after that grant's finished and paying for it.
The grant is to build the site.
Okay,
That's all it would be for. We would have to
Just to build
incorporate the cost, whether we man it or, the one that I showed you in the photos is not a manned site. We think that it's gonna require a manned site because of our population, and actually the DNR, I think, is thinking along those lines as well. So we would have somebody there anytime it was open, that's more than likely. Obviously, county council's got to decide that. The funds would build it, then we'd have to operate it.
okay.
At the county's expense, right?
Yes, sir.
Steve, do you see that as a pay-for-play kind of arrangement? I mean, if you're going to staff it, do people pay to utilize the facility, or that's just, staffing is just a safety issue that?
Yes and yes. I mean, very likely, until we get there, if we go down that path, may very well have to have a way to pay for it. Or at least subsidize it, if nothing else.
For the
But that would be
labor and-
considered, the first thing is identify a site, come up with a plan that would fit on that site, and then get it before county council and decide what you want to include.
You wouldn't want us to do it for $10 an acre, would you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, just checking.
Mr. Knight?
Mr. Chairman, we also discussed this property is a storm debris site, and DNR is well aware that if we needed it, we would have to take it back, and they don't mind that.
Actually, it
guideline.
provides a use for that property that similar to what we're using the 57 site for. We're releasing that for soccer fields, fill up the interior of the berms with any debris you got, and then, as I understand it, I think they said they would pay to clean it up and get it reestablished. FEMA? But it's a use of the, again, that's one of the benefits of 1187. That property's gonna sit there and be idle, other than providing y'all dirt for the landfill, and a laydown area for storm debris. This could use that, allow a use to be occurring on that property rather than just sitting there.
Other questions? He's asked us a question, are we willing to allow them to submit our name as a possible site?
I would make a motion. I don't have a problem with looking into it as long as there's no commitment and we have the right to say no if they come back. But as far as them putting it down as something to be considered, I don't have a problem with that, but I am not willing to make any kind of a commitment at all. Tonight. Yeah, like I said, I don't have enough answers, yet to take the test, so.
Second motion.
Properly moved in second that we give permission for the 1187 tract to be put down as a possible site for the shooting range. It comes to a question. All those in favor make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, sir. Any items for roundtable discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That comes before the annual meeting in our booklet, right?
Yes, sir.
I think the main thing that I wanted to say was that, I don't think that, I've served on a number of boards and commissions. And it's been the policy of the boards and commissions that I've served on that we, not take trips to San Diego or Dallas or places like that. I've looked over the, sorry? Sorry. What I'm trying to say is that we're always threatening people with their jobs, or we're going to cut out the recycling and so forth and so on. As long as we're doing that, I don't think we should be taking trips to Dallas or San Diego or places like that and spending the kind of money that it takes. I think we should just cut that out of our board business. And I noticed that the leaflet, the brochure, was very similar to the, you can go online, it's just amazing to me what you can, as Norfleet said, he does a lot of reading. It's amazing to me what you can learn by reading online about solid waste and all of the side issues related to it. And then SWANA has a 3-state convention here from time to time, and then has a single state convention here. I think it's the same program, but I don't think we should go, period. I think we should save the money, use it for other things, like hiring people that we need to hire, and keeping people that we need to keep, and keeping a recycling program that we need to keep. And I expect absolutely no support at all whatsoever. So, free to move on, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Creech?
I have 3 things I'd like to say. Like I brought up with Esther, I had talked with Keep Horry County Beautiful. A lot of the places that we take trash from, and we don't charge them, and I had talked with them about it, and they said they would see if they couldn't work it out. But when we take in trash and we don't charge people, you know, that's a benefit to them. I would like maybe for some of our staff to work with some of these people so that when they pick this trash up or they use that and bring it here, that they separate it so that we can recycle it and do that with it, because that's really what that money is being used for, is to help them with their program. So the people that I've talked to that we've worked with are willing to do that. They might need a little help from some of the staff, but they're willing to do that. The other thing is plastic bags seem to cause our landfill and our equipment an awful lot of problems. And I think that's one of the things that we need to look at, to work with our 4th graders when they're writing their papers or they're trying to do their recycled art for us, that a lot of times young people come up with some really great ideas. So maybe we can work with the schools and work with the programs we already have, and let that be one of the items that the school children discuss and try to help us with making some decisions. The other thing is, I had talked with the Riverkeeper. They have an auction, and I was really impressed last year. It was the first time that I had seen the school children's recycled art, and I was really impressed with what they did. The wolf that they had was better than some artists that I've seen, and I thought it was really great. And I happened to see the Riverkeeper, and we were discussing that and talking about having an auction and putting recycled art from our school children, and maybe putting that in that and having an auction and working with the Riverkeeper or some of the other conservation groups to do that. And she told me that a lady in Lake City, she didn't know it until the month afterwards, but in Lake City, this lady held a recycled art contest, and the person that won that recycled art contest, she gave them $50,000. that might be a way for us to get some more money involved in our school programs. And it would be something that I think the children would be absolutely thrilled for us to help them put their exhibits in an auction like that for them to participate in. So I would like for our staff to think about that as well. Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir.
Do we not have a recycle art contest now?
Yes, but I'd like to auction off.
Oh, I agree, but I wonder if we could combine ours with her $50,000.
That'd be great. That's what I was thinking.
Is that Ms. Moore, Darla Moore?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I'd like to help that lady out a little bit more.
Pretty smart.
Anyone else?
Yes, one question. Talking about the plastic bags, and you're talking about eliminating the plastic bags, is what you're talking about.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Eventually. We won't ask them to do it next week.
Right. Mr. Bussett, are there any landfills that eliminate, taking in plastic bags?
There are landfills. Charleston County eliminated plastic bags. Now, they do set up biodegradable bags, I think, is what they, in the process, they have banned it from picking up leaves out of their leaves and stuff.
So the grocery stores, the bags would do away with the plastic bags, but have to be biodegradable if they were used.
If they use them, it has to be biodegradable bags.
Right.
When we were up there at that meeting, Danny and I earlier at a conference that CRA was putting on in Charleston County, that they had said they had banned anything but biodegradable bags.
Now, that's bags coming into the landfill.
Right.
Right.
Milos can still give out plastic bags.
Right.
Okay, but if you use them as trash bags and they come into the landfill,
Yard-
They only use for, banned them from yard waste.
Right, it was just,
Yard waste.
yeah, it was
Yard waste.
totally over.
Yeah. There are states out there that do it, but I don't think there's anyone in South Carolina that bans bags totally, that I'm aware of. But Charleston did it for their yard waste.
Mr. Gosnell, do you think that that could be part of the bid process if this was a chosen site for the gun range, that the county do away with plastic bags?
Are there any other items for roundtable discussion that we need to consider? Okay, if not, is there a need for executive session? None. Then I recommend that this portion come to an end.
And we need about 10 minutes.
We need 10 minutes between sessions, so take a 10-minute break.